looking at technology today, with a lot of changes that have happened in the last half a decade, I would say, it's been revolutionary in multiple ways in cross-cutting domains. A lot of great things have happened, but a lot of vulnerabilities have been exposed, and a lot of vulnerabilities have been accentuated. Already ഉള്ള കുറേ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ആക്സെൻറ്റുവേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനും കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ അതേസമയത്ത് ഒത്തിരി നല്ല കാര്യങ്ങളും ടെക്നോളജിക്ക് മിറ്റിഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനും സഹായിക്കാനും പറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. I think more good than bad, definitely. And I think in the last 100 years or 150 years, we as a species, we have evolved technologically. The changes, the rapid number of changes that have happened in the last 150 years, I would say, has been, we have the figures and we have the quotations. It has been much more than probably the last 10,000 years. At the same time, when you look at rapid industrialization, ever since the 1800s, there's a lot of damage that has been done to the habitat or our earth. So, it's also sometimes a misnomer to look at industry and equate it to technology per se, but any kind of technological advancement for humanity, when you look at it from that lens, you have to look at both sides. And reflecting upon that, how we use technology is the most important thing. And like you rightly said, use cases are very diverse, ranging from bureaucrats to data analysts, and the keywords that we use are completely different from, forget even our parents' generation, from what our siblings or our friends from 10 years back, what they studied in their institutions and what degrees they got, and eventually what they made or started doing for a living. That has completely changed. അപ്പോൾ ടെക്നോളജി അവർ കേട്ടത്, നമ്മളിന്ന് ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത്, and eventually what kind of world we are living in. So അത് ഭയങ്കരമായി മാറിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. We are living in an interconnected world. Internet, the proliferation of internet, I would say, has been the biggest discovery in the last few decades. But how technology or internet has been used for education, for a lot of great things, to even look at the world as a single unit or a global village or a knowledge society, that has been very helpful. And because of that, a lot of disparity in the world has been taken away. Likewise, the bridge or the gap between the global north and the global south, technology has been often seen as an equalizer. And awareness of technology has taken away a lot of material disparity that we see in the world. So we are moving into a world where skills or knowledge is valued more than traditional assets. Human capital is probably way more valued today than normal physical material goods and physical capital overall. So I think overall, at least at a peripheral level, this is what I feel about, to answer your question at a very broad level. There is no ideal, there is no perfect solution to this, and there's no right answer or the wrong answer. But having said that, you might comment that, or we might reflect that our system is good, our education system is good. But I feel there is so much of lacunae, and there is so much potential to become better. It's a half empty, half full kind of question eventually. And I think it's a process of continuous learning. And more than teaching or learning, or we have a long way to go from traditional rote learning. And I think culturally, at least in this country, we still are stuck. I'm speaking about the masses. I'm not speaking about pockets or urban settings or liberal arts institutions or universities or schools that promote experiential learning or any of that. At a normal point of education, with like a government school in rural India, the kind of learning, what is the quality that they get? A third standard student is not, or rather a 10th standard student is not even able to answer a lot of the basic questions that somebody in 4th or 5th grade would normally do. So we are looking at a disparity right there. And all these questions then come into the question whether our assessment standards, are they up to the mark? Secondly, again, broadly speaking, we speak a lot about the Scandinavian, Finnish models of education. We draw parallels looking at what they do versus what happens in India, and there are experiential learning models that they pursue. There is so much of choice involved, personal affinities involved. So basically, if you would ask me, for me, an ideal, or I wouldn't, far from ideal, but an appropriate way to look at it is, one, a combination of what you need to live as a good human being and to eventually choose a path of your liking. Second, it should also be based on personal affinities, not just affinities, extending that to even what is your strengths and what are your weaknesses. So we need a system that will clearly assess what an individual is all about. And of course, individuals make up a society, and to be an aware civic society, all these education has to happen from the very smallest, youngest level. We spend millions on behavioral change, on cleanliness and Swachh Bharat and a lot of these things, while we should be also putting the equal amount of effort right from a formative ages. We also know that, at this formative, very young age is when you pick up maximum number of skills or agility in terms of languages, linguistic skills and so on. So at that age, we as a society, or even students and their parents, have a moral responsibility to provide them with that opportunity. And I think as a country, we should relook at how we have been viewing education. There have been a lot of debate on the new education policy also recently, and how higher education should be run in this country. But we need to start looking at it from both at an individual level, where catch them young and watch them grow, like you say. So it has to be inculcated at a very young age. Creativity, innovation, a lot of these things, and it has to be part of the learning culture. Often critics would say, whatever little bits is left of creativity, you go into the education system, that will kill it for you. Unfortunately, a lot of that is true. I wouldn't say everywhere or in every institution, but hopefully in the coming years, there will be an awakening. And secondly, the assessments, the standards with which, what are the yardsticks with which we are going to assess students. Exams are not to be viewed with trauma. It's not ഒരു പേടി സ്വപ്നമായിട്ടല്ല ultimately ഒരു പരീക്ഷേനെ കുട്ടികൾ കാണേണ്ടതോ ഒരിക്കലും അവിടെ എത്തേണ്ടതോ. But on the other hand, rote learning, a combination of rote learning and ruthless competitiveness. Of course, we are a country with limited means, limited number of seats in higher education. So there are a lot of limitations that way. But the methodology with which we learn, the pedagogy with which they are taught, both needs to be relooked at a different or at several levels, primary, secondary and even collegiate levels. Innovation should not be hindered. It has to be coming from, again, the individual's affinity, their strengths, and what the societal problems are. We speak about local, but we speak about that much later to solve society's problems. The students should be, in fact, encouraged to observe what the problems, they have in their own community. Look at global issues that are happening. We speak about sustainable development goals and we try to link it to local problems. This should happen at the very young age. So this is what I feel about upskilling, education and pedagogy at large. So firstly, TinkerHub is not the TinkerHub that it started out to be. Much like the world around us, much like the students that form our community, TinkerHub also has evolved so much over the years. And thankfully it has evolved in a good way. We are a multi-thousand strong community, working from all stretches of Kerala geographically, and also with people from all domains and ages and gender balance. But yet we are able to stay relevant even today, because who says you can't make elephants dance? The strength of our organization is the strength of the community, and that is the strength of, like you say, the strength of the wolf is the strength of the pack, and the other way around, both ways. So it is these individuals that contribute to the community, and that is what makes us stay relevant. The very fact that TinkerHub does not have a set, rigid pedagogy is what I feel has led to the success of TinkerHub. Secondly, there is no teaching here. So eventually we're looking at a sharing economy within the knowledge ecosystem. Eventually, if you aspire, or if the state or the country aspires to be a knowledge society, it has to be strongly rooted in sharing of knowledge, dissemination of knowledge, and access to knowledge. So that does not just limit itself to proliferation of internet connectivity, but also understanding what to access where. You can have all the resources in the world, but it depends on how you use it. So thankfully, members of the community have the strong root, or they are strongly rooted or grounded in the fact that you need to share the knowledge, you need to build together, and the values of collaboration, not competition. And this is, I think, something that will in the coming years solve a lot of our developmental problems even as humanity. So eventually the sense of community and giving back to community will make the world a better place, and I think that's pretty much what inspires me to keep working closely with TinkerHub, right from the founding days, even today. Not just the relevance, but also a sense of personal satisfaction and gratitude that I would say that I feel working with young people, my peers, people from all walks of life. And technology, like I mentioned earlier, has been a great enabler and a democratizing tool, or an instrument across across the world. So I think TinkerHub is one of those spaces where people can come, experiment, learn, and this is how it keeps growing. And there are a lot of things that normally the state or the free markets, both sides, might not be able to do. So we live in a state, Kerala, where we've had strong sense of community movements from the grassroots. We've had the library movement, we've had high literacy, and thankfully we've got a lot of good human development indices, or I would say a lot of it's a good place to be born to. So here, how can we make this place even better? And eventually TinkerHub addresses a lot of these gaps that the normal system in between free markets and the state provisioning of education and skills might not be able to give. And staying relevant to industry, which eventually makes sense to keep somebody employable. Somebody needs to be agile, somebody needs to be absolutely abreast about what they're learning and what the industry needs. And you can't really look at skills or employability today in terms of degrees. I mean, you might be from an IIT, but you might not know as much as somebody who never even went to college might be already aware of, just because he tried something on his own, learning by doing. And we have a huge, vast textbook in front of us that the internet provides us. So self-learning and peer-to-peer learning, this is the way forward. I think in a world of collaboration and not competition, TinkerHub is one of the most relevant models that I hope we all as humanity can adopt over the world. Lot of things that probably we can also change and become better in, but I believe in TinkerHub and I believe in what the organization stands for.